Hello, everyone. How are you? Monday night, and this is the Physicist and Philosopher Hour. And my co-host, Dr. Claudia Albers. How are you, Claudia?
I'm very well, thank you, Wayne. And how are
Good.
you?
I'm doing good, doing good. We are hoping, hello, Brian, Brenda, everyone that's already in. Thank you to all the moderators. Doing good. We are hoping here in Colorado that we have seen the worst of the heat
Mm-hmm.
because it's been a brutal summer and we have had so much smoke from the fires from
Mm-hmm.
California, and it has just been miserable. So what we need is rain, and what we need is cooler weather. Speaking of which, Claudia, we're going to spend some time tonight on weather.
Mm-hmm.
And this afternoon in Colorado Springs, which is about an hour drive south for me, um, they got hit by what they said now is the top scale for a hailstorm that came in at the zoo, killed some animals, damaged virtually every car in the parking lot, and some of the hailstones were as big as baseballs.
Oh my goodness.
So we're prone to hail here in Colorado because we're so close to the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you, it seems around the world that the hailstorms are getting more numerous, more intense, and more widespread.
Yeah. I, I mean, I've been writing about
I
this
know.
for a long time. I keep saying that the weather's going to get more severe because there's just more heat. The planet is heating up. There's more heat in the atmosphere because of all the stellar core matter coming in. And so the planet is warming up, the atmosphere is warming up. And when the atmosphere warms up, you get more severe weather. You get more dramatic changes between the cold and the hot layers in the atmosphere. And then, of course, that will lead to hail. Hail, how does it form? It forms by water being pushed up, freezing, dropping down, melting slightly, being pushed up again, and freezing again, and different layers form on these pieces of ice, and that's how hail forms. So if you have a more dramatic change in hot and cold in the layers of the atmosphere, you're going to get this happening more. So the hailstones will get larger.
All I have to say, Lynn and I was at a concert at Red Rocks, and if you ever come to Colorado, you could, it's a great place. A lot of great concerts are out there. And we were out there actually seeing Stevie Winwood and Steely Dan.
Mm-hmm.
And the storm came in. Red Rocks is right at about, I think, about 7,500 feet. And so I was protecting Lynn as the hell. Now, this was just marble size. And I'm going to tell you what, it left some marks on me and a lot of the other people. It was just
Yeah.
very intense. And when you start thinking about golf ball
Uh-huh.
and baseball, that will kill you.
Yes, it will. We had a lot of hail in South Africa. It's just normal to have hail there. Um, but even there, the hailstones started getting larger. And we know that's just because we're getting more severe weather. More heat produces larger hailstones.
And I can tell you, it is intense. So I have some pictures, Claudia, that you and I sent you today, and it was actually from Nancy, and it was a family member that was in Kansas.
Yes.
She took this picture at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm just setting the stage here for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And she was looking to the southwest. So look back about 5 days ago, You can see where the sun is in proportion to where a person in Kansas would be. The sun would be basically above her head. And so she is pointing to the southwest, looking at a panorama landscape. Now, she didn't see this, and I have to contribute Nancy for a very good eye. So, Claudia, let me get this pulled up.
So the sun was not in front of this object. The sun was above her head.
Yes, ma'am.
That is amazing.
So I am going to share this with everyone because I thought what you and I would do, Claudia, that we would take. So here is the picture, ladies and gentlemen. Can you see that, Claudia?
No.
You cannot. Hold on a second here. Why is it not wanting? I can.
Yeah, I don't know why. Your screen is just blank.
Yeah. It. Let's just hope we can get this technical. Let me. It's actually what the picture has done is froze up my computer.
Oh my goodness.
So let's just bear with me on this and see what we can do. Okay, everyone just be patient. Well, I guess it doesn't really, my picture is still frozen, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to have to get out of here. So it is not allowing me. Well, Claudia, I'll let you talk as I continue to work through these technical issues.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I can say that I actually started writing an article on this because what you see is these arcs in the sky. And when I saw your picture, Wayne, I immediately realized that I had seen this before in a photograph that Scott had sent me and someone had taken from Australia. And in that photograph, you can see some clouds. You can see what seems to be the sun. I don't think it's the sun, it's the simulated, very white. And then you see a little object. But now, having had seen that they use holographic projections, I looked at this little object and I realized it's probably a holographic projection trying to hide what's really behind the simulator. And it's these arcs, and they gray and they're huge. So it's almost the same as what you have in this image that you're going to show us.
Yeah, if I can. I've never had my computer do this before. It is literally.
Yeah, someone doesn't want us to show this image, probably.
Yeah, this one
this object is huge. So then I went on and I estimated that this object in the sky seems to be about 10 times larger than the sun, but that's in angular width terms. So then I calculated how large it would be if it was as close as the moon. And if it was as close as the moon, in order for it to look as it looks in the sky there, it would be 10 times larger than the moon, which is about 3 times larger than the Earth. So, but it's possibly a lot closer than that, because I know the stellar cores are able to come very close to the Earth. Of course, it's a stellar core because the Earth has not reacted with some kind of cataclysm by having an object so close to it. So this means that it has to be a stellar core, because the stellar cores don't interact gravitationally like normal objects. So it has to be a stellar core. It seems to be covered in this grayish matter, which to me looks somewhat like a cloud layer. You'd expect that of stellar cores as well. And so I just calculated it. If it was, and I actually have the calculation here. If it is at about 10 Earth radii, which is just beyond the geosynchronous orbit, just beyond that by about 20,000 kilometers. then it would be half the size of the Earth, which would make it one of the smallest stellar cores, very close to the Earth. But still, half the size of the Earth is huge, absolutely huge. So, yeah, and if it was the closest distance it could possibly be, say, something like 2,000 kilometers above the surface of the Earth, then it would have a diameter of 482 miles. So it'll be very small for a stellar core. Some of them are as large as the sun or even larger. So it would be a small stellar core, but it's definitely a stellar core. It's definitely, I think, a spherical object. It cannot be a rainbow because it's gray. Rainbows, you would see the colors. So I think it is a stellar core enveloped in some kind of cloud. And we're seeing the arcs like we usually would see a rainbow would look like, except for the colors. So it may actually be a striped object, and we're seeing the north pole of it pointing to Earth, and then we see the stripes around it like that. So it's very interesting. And yeah, and the other thing Wayne wanted me to talk about is, of course, the weather, because the planet is warming up. A lot of people are still saying that we're going to have an ice age because we're going towards a solar minimum. And I have been writing about the fact that that's impossible because all the planets in the solar system have been warming up for years. And they have been warming up because the stellar core matter is impacting the atmospheres of the planets. And that means that the atmospheres and the planets are warming up. There's energy coming out from the core. There will be magma flowing out onto the surface of all the planets. It will possibly happen with Mars as well. And Venus will heat up. Hello, Wayne.
Hello. Well,
back?
we are still in the midst of, I don't know what happened. I have never had this happen. So,
Yeah.
Claudia, I'm going to log out and then I'm going to come back in.
You're still having a problem.
Yeah, there is. I don't know what actually took place here. So I need to shut down my system, but I will be back. You should be able to continue on because you're the host.
I'm the host.
Okay, I'll be back.
Okay.
Okay, I'll be back.
All right. So let me actually share the image. I think I can share some of these images I have here. Let's see. What do I? Oh, there's my. All right. So this is actually the image that Wayne sent me. I don't know. And there's there's the image that I saw. You can see the outlines there. So these are the rainbow, well, the arcs that we would usually associate with a rainbow, but they're no colors. This object, I believe, is a holographic projection designed to take our attention away from what we're seeing here. And this is, I think, what it may look like. These would be basically the stripes. And it seems to be more orange over here. It's slightly more orange there. So I made that center orange. And then I haven't finished. I'm still working on it. So that's it. And so Wayne wanted me to talk about, let's see if I can find my articles. I wasn't ready to do this. I think he wanted me to talk about, let me find it. Town in Peru destroyed, that one. Okay. Okay. Let's do that. Okay. Okay, so this is an article I wrote about a town in Peru destroyed as Earth. As you can see here, you can see several images. These are the blocks of the ground that have broken. And you can see the fissures, these cracks between them. And these are still growing in size. Now, the ground actually slid and fell so that it disconnected from this hill here and just fell down. And so most people are reporting on this, or saying that there was a landslide and that then led to these cracks in the earth. But the thing is, the cracks in the earth started appearing in 1998, and they were small at the time. So this is not fissures as a result of a landslide. This is a landslide as a result of fissuring. And I have been writing about this for a long time, that the earth is actually fissuring, it's breaking, and the surface is breaking up. And this is exactly, as you can see, there's a large one. Some of them are about 38 meters in depth. And you can see the person standing there. So you can see how large this fissure really is. So the locals started out in 1998. They noticed these fissures. The officials told them to just fill them up with soil and gravel and stones, which they did. But the fissures kept appearing and kept growing in size. So eventually that's what you end up with. And the whole town was destroyed. So I have been saying that the surface of the earth is breaking up. This is not just happening in Peru. This is the town of Luto, as you can see, that was destroyed. This is happening in other places. This is happening in Africa. Africa, in the Rift Valley, it was already a region that was moving apart, and that geologists believe that in a couple of million years, that piece of land there would be separated from the rest of Africa. But the thing is, these fissures are basically opening up overnight now. So something that's supposed to take millions of years is now taking just a few hours. So this is not normal. It means the earth is breaking up. The surface is breaking up. And it's not just there. It's occurring everywhere around the world. This is in India. As you can see fissures here that just appeared. This is in Saudi Arabia, and this is in New Zealand. So this is happening all over the world. It means the surface of the earth is starting to break up. Why is that happening? It's happening because of the stellar cores that are part of what I call the Planet X system, and you can see some of them here. And they make connections with the sun. They draw energy from the sun. These are the larger ones. This one would be at least the size of Jupiter. So the larger ones, well, I believe all of them go to the sun at least first, and then they are ejected by the sun with CMEs. And then they may go past planets. They may start interacting with planets. The smallest ones will go further because they have less mass. They may end up interacting with the planets for quite a while. But they'll most likely return to the sun because the sun will have the most attraction for them. But these objects absorb energy. So when they interact with the Earth, and it doesn't even have to be the actual stellar core because they shed so much material. They shed their outer layers for the same reason that the Earth is breaking up, because they're so low in energy that they cannot hold on to their surface layer, and they expand, and their surface layers then are loose and break apart and float out into space. And so there's all this low energy matter in the solar system, stellar core matter. and it's coming into the planet's atmospheres. It's coming into the Earth's atmosphere. It's absorbing energy from the Earth. So the Earth's energy, which is basically photon energy inside its particles, is declining. And when that happens, the Earth's gravity will decline. Now, we know these objects don't interact gravitationally like normal objects because we have huge objects so close to the sun. An accepted theory tells you that that's impossible, that if such an object were to even enter the solar system, all the planet's orbits would be upset. The planets would not be in the same place anymore. The whole solar system would break up, but this is not happening. We have huge objects in the sun's corona that are obviously not interacting gravitationally like we would expect. And of course, this is the reason why the scientists will not even look at the sun and accept that these objects are there. Because when you realize they are there, it changes everything about what we know, how the universe works. It changes the whole of physics. And this is what I've been writing about. This is why I had to come up with a new theory of gravity and had to realize that gravity is not this constant force everyone thought it was. It depends on the energy, the photon energy, inside the particles of a celestial object. So I had to come up with an explanation for what we see here. But astronomers, physicists, they will deny, they will not even look at this. They will not even touch it because it changes everything. It changes everything we've built our physics theory on, which is basically gravity. Everything that astronomy talks about is dependent on gravitational collapse. And when you take away gravitational collapse, what do you have left? You have no astronomy, basically. You have to rework everything. That's what I've been writing about. And for months now, trying to figure out what's going on. But it's because I have accepted that these objects are there. I've built my theories on observation. Whilst physicists nowadays will say, oh, I will hold on to my theory no matter what, and I will ignore the observations if they do not agree with my theory, because I don't want to change what I believe in. So to them, physics has become a religion. And here we see another one of these objects. This one is about half the size of the sun. And you can see the particles in front of it. And this is part of the material that they shed. They shed a lot of material because they shed their outer layers. All that's left is the core. The core of the object is actually exposed because they've lost all those layers of material. And you can see this root-like connection that they make with the sun. They draw matter from the sun, and they draw energy from the sun because this matter has a lot more energy than the matter that these objects are made of. And they will do the same thing with the Earth. They will come into the Earth's atmosphere. They're very large. They probably will just touch the top of the Earth's atmosphere. They will draw matter. And the dust, when it starts coming in, it leads to cloud condensation, so formation of cloud, because the water loses energy. And when it does, it cools down, so cloud formation occurs. And then it starts absorbing electrons. These electrons, when they start interacting with the stellar core matter, will start losing energy. And that means that they will end up emitting light as they move down from one energy level to the next. They will start emitting light. So there will be ionization and light emission. That's why we have luminescent clouds in the atmosphere. That's why we have pink clouds in the atmosphere. And someone asked me why they would be pink. Well, that has to do with the change in energy level. it must be such that that particular wavelength of photon is given off. It's associated to a certain energy change. I think it does occur with certain gases when they are in a discharge tube. I'm not sure which one it is anymore. It might be, it's one of the noble gases. I don't think it's neon. It's one that's heavier than that emits that sort of light. So here comes Wayne. Okay. Let's see. Let's get out of this one. And
I am back, Claudia.
oh, hello, Wayne. I just went through the Peru article.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm sure you would come up with lots of questions.
Well, this was a venture. It was, this had to look at my firewall, and yeah, it's like,
I think they don't want us to show that image, but I did show the article I'm working on, which is a work in progress.
excellent, excellent.
So,
excellent. Yeah, and it's still, I'll have to go back and do something with my system because it's still,
oh my goodness,
still acting funny. So anyway, so hey everyone, we're back.
yeah.
But you know what, Claudia, we will not go undeterred.
Yes.
We're going to show this. But yeah, it was an intrusion on the firewall.
Yeah, they definitely tried to stop us from showing that image. But the thing is, I actually have it in my Word document, which I am working on.
Okay.
So
excellent.
I will show it again. As I said, it's still a work in progress. Let's take that out. I don't even have it as a PDF.
I have it. It's, Claudia, I think we're going to actually be able to do this. So
really?
Yeah. All right, here we go. So let's see. Hi, everyone. You see, isn't technology fun?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, cool. Can you see that, Claudia?
No. Oh, there it is. Yes.
Okay. So this is the picture, folks, that now we'll get some background on here. So as I understand it, this is looking southwest, and you can see the sun is right above her, literally above.
Yeah, that's amazing because this means this object is emitting light.
Yeah.
Look how bright it is.
So what I did, and Nancy did as well, and I just copied her. Look at this. Whatever this is, Claudia. Now, we thought about this. Could it have been an aberration of what we would call backwash of light on the iris? But this is too,
yeah.
Yeah, there's.
Now, I don't think so. Look at this. We have arcs.
Yes.
The only way we usually have arcs like this is in the sky is if it's a rainbow. But as you can see, the edge of these arcs is not.
Look at the striations.
Yeah, it's not. It's not a perfect edge like you would expect.
Here I put this, Claudia.
It's very kind of jagged kind of edge. And I would think that it's almost like this object is covered in a cloud-like kind of layer. But it's striped. And the part that's closest to Earth is the brightest part. Now, where have I seen this before? That these objects, when they are close to the sun, they point their brightest spot somewhat towards the sun. So this object if it's absorbing energy from the Earth, would do the same thing. And the brightest part would be pointing towards the Earth. And then as it absorbs energy, will get brighter. Notice that it looks a lot brighter than the image that I got. I sent it to you, so you can show it just now.
Yes. Now,
It
Claudia,
looks a lot brighter than it did in the image from last year. So it's obviously getting brighter.
They are. And this, by the way, what I did, I went into Photoshop and I produced a 3D bitmap on this. And so if there was nothing back here, we wouldn't be able, it would be much like this here.
Yes.
This where it should be. So you can see in the 3D relief map, there's something up here.
Definitely.
There is definitely something up here. I don't know what. You're the expert on this, but
look at it. It's obviously there's a circular outline there.
Now this is the original, folks.
Yeah. Even in the original, if you look at the top, you sent it to me, you can see a slight change from bright to darkness, and it's circular. What could produce this kind of huge circular outline above the horizon? Well, I don't think it is in the atmosphere, because there's this haziness that we can see in front of it. So that would mean that it's behind the chemtrail haze. So that would mean that it's outside the atmosphere. No kind of atmospheric effect would give rise to perfectly concentric arcs in the sky. The only thing that can possibly do that is an actual object, an actual spherical object. And notice that since this object is outside the atmosphere, then what we are seeing is just a portion of it, the portion that's above the horizon. And that means this is a huge object. It cannot be all that close to the Earth. I mean, it has to be very close to the Earth for us to actually be able to see it, even though we have the haze from the chemtrails. Look at that. That's clearly a circular outline. Yes. And layers beyond it. This has to be a spherical object, and we are seeing its layers.
So let everyone know what I did here. This again is in Photoshop. And so what I've done is that I began to strip away, and you can see that what we have here is what I would consider more natural light. I don't know what this is. This, as you can see, and let me blow this up for you even more, Claudia, so you can see it. There it is. Whatever the hell that is, I don't know. But you know, Nancy called it a white rainbow, and I think that was pretty appropriate. But
yeah, except that there's no such thing as white rainbows.
Yeah. At least not in this reality, right?
No. Now, as you can see, this object, you can see that the arc goes behind the edge of...
Bingo.
You see that?
Right here.
It goes behind that edge there that you actually drew with that white line or in Photoshop. So this object is behind the horizon. And you can see the arcs will seem to continue below the horizon. So again, what we have is a spherical object in the sky. And it's huge.
There she is. Whatever the hell that is, Claudia, I don't know. You know, I was 2 decades in the video industry, you know, broadcast. And so when I look at this, what this is telling me, the camera is picking up something out there that was obfuscated by the wash of the glare of the white light.
Yeah.
Isn't that odd? Look at this.
There's definitely something there. And I mean, they would try to do anything possible to hide such a huge object from us. And what just occurred with your computer indicates that as well.
Yeah.
So
Hey,
the fact that we are seeing this in the sky, in spite of all the chemtrails and all the simulations, means that there's something really is there.
and there's her photo. There's the original right there.
Uh-huh.
You'd never see it. I
Yeah.
mean, the glare, the smoke, everything else, you would not see anything there.
Yes, because this object obviously seems to be emitting light. We have this haze at the top of our atmosphere, which would reflect the light that this object is emitting. This is why it's so difficult to see these objects outside of the atmosphere. But the fact that we can still pick it up and see that it's there tells you there's definitely something here, and it's outside our atmosphere.
Well,
So it's huge.
when
It's
I
a huge
told
object out there.
I don't get, and now what I did here, folks, so again, it looks like there's nothing here, but it's there.
Definitely.
There is, and this is the reason why I did it. And I took the gamma all the way down, saturation at almost at the extreme, was to be able to flush this thing out, and it's there.
It's definitely there. So this is inverted, and you can
Yes.
see this object is extremely bright and not as bright as we move away from that central circular region. And this is what I saw in the blue stellar core as well. And that is they have a hot spot where they seem to start emitting light from, and then it spreads out as concentric rings from that spot. This is exactly what we are seeing here.
So this is disturbing, Claudia. This is really disturbing. I don't know. I'm not a trained, as they would say, as yourself, as an astronomer to look at this, but I do know video and I do know light and I do know how to work in that medium. There's something there. It's amazing.
Wayne, I think you're a lot better trained than any astronomer, because nowadays astronomers are trained to close their eyes when it doesn't agree with their theory.
Now that you might have a point. They might have a good point there. Thank you. So we have, and we're not finished, folks. I have Claudia, and it's still here. I pulled up a number of articles just within the last week since you and I last met Monday night. So all you folks down in Florida, apparently there's this toxic red tide, which is making the Floridians sick, and it is killing the fish. It is apparently really, really bad. It said the first came the red tide, and now a flotilla of microorganisms that dyed the sea rust and eventually stretched out 100 miles off the Gulf Coast, starving the fish, eels, dolphins, turtles. Now, I don't live in Florida.
You see, this is happening more and more. And why I believe it's happening is because we're getting more and more stellar core dust coming into our atmosphere, and it's reaching the ground, it's going into the ocean, and it's absorbing whatever, it possibly oxygen.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that. So thinking about this chemically, it seems to be either feeding off of or absorbing oxygen.
Yeah. And then when the ocean is low on oxygen, then we get these problems. Basically, it dies. The environment just changes, and then you get algae, you get all these microorganisms that then, and the fish die because they need oxygen.
Yes. And, when I saw this Sargassum seaweed, I always think about the ships that got caught out there in the Sargasso Sea. But now Dr. Albers, it's washing up on the Atlantic side, and they say it stinks.
Oh my.
They
Yeah.
Yeah, the putrid seaweed washed up in the Caribbean and the South Florida beaches. So, yeah. Now,
Yeah. I think, you see, our planet is going through a cataclysmic, slowly developing cataclysmic event. We have the fissuring, the surface breaking up. We have volcanic activity that keeps increasing and will keep increasing. We have the severe weather. We have the atmosphere heating up. We have basically our planet is slowly being destroyed. It's a slow process, but it's happening, and we're seeing the signs all over the place. And these are symptoms of what's going on, and it will increase until possibly the oceans will die.
you know what we call this in Texas? This is what you call a slow boil for the frog.
That's right.
The frog is cooking, baby. And, so I thought about you because your native country is Portugal, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it
And
is.
your native homeland is getting, this is serious.
Yeah, Portugal is having these heat waves, and they have for years also been affected by fires.
Yes.
But the thing is, yeah, the same as with California. And it's well known that most of the fires happen because people do it on purpose. People set the fires on purpose. And they've also caught, I think, some of these directed energy weapon beams being used there. So obviously the powers that be have some reason for wanting these fires. And it's not just happening in Portugal. I think it's happening in Spain as well. So it's not just California that's burning.
Well,
for what reason would anybody want to burn the earth?
Dr. Albers, as a philosopher, I believe that our species is going insane.
Mm-hmm.
I really do believe that. This was from a subscriber, Renee, who sent this to me. I was shocked when I read this, and so are the people in Sweden. So a little background on this one, Claudia, is that this is taken from Sweden at their highest peak at the glacier. They have one on the North Ridge and one on the South Ridge. The North Ridge has always been the one that has the most snow, and that's the highest elevation in Sweden.
Yeah.
Claudia, in the month of July, they lost 13 feet of snow.
Wow.
It was so hot up there at this elevation that this began to make me think, whoa, wait a minute. If you were going to have an event, wouldn't you see the ionosphere being heated up first?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Definitely. I think the atmosphere is warming up mainly from the top because the stellar cores are interacting with the top of the atmosphere. So the ionosphere is getting supercharged and super hot.
That's not good for us.
No, definitely. So you may find that it gets hotter at the top of mountains than at the bottom.
Well, I can tell you here, up at in Colorado, we have 14,000 peaks.
Mm-hmm.
We have 14 of them. And it has been warm up there. We're talking up into the 80s.
Wow.
Now, many people who don't know what it's like to be at 14,000 feet, even for me, I live at right about 6,000 feet. It's difficult to breathe up there, and it's usually very cool.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, we had some people that had to be rescued because they got caught in a snowstorm over the weekend up that right at 14,000 feet.
Mm-hmm.
So this is alarming to me. Now, I wanted to show this to you. I didn't bother you this week with this because I wanted to save this. Claudia, You and I have known each other for a while, and we follow LASCO 3.
Mhm.
As you can see the date on this, this was from March.
Oh my goodness.
Um, I don't know what was coming through, but as I was explaining to my listeners on this one, this is the arm that has the little obfuscating disc right here
Mhm.
from the camera. This is where it sits right here. So they try to blot that out. But this is what is amazing to me, Claudia. This is light. This is something going through.
That is definitely something going on. How how are we supposed to get straight lines like that? It's just unbelievable to me that, don't forget, this is observing the sun. This is a chronograph. It's observing the sun. It observes the sun. Actually, it observes the outer corona of the sun. This is the one that sees the outer corona. This is one of the LASCO chronographs, right?
Yes.
So this is only supposed to actually see what's occurring inside the outer corona of the sun. So we have these straight lines. Now, at first you may think, okay, maybe it's cosmic particles, but cosmic particles do not leave straight lines that are that long. That's impossible.
What is this? I mean, when
That looks like a track through perhaps the sun's outer corona, an object traveling through and leaving some kind of track, or it's possibly pulling material behind it as it moves through.
Now this won't allow me to pull this up, but there's an object right here, Claudia.
Oh my
Can you
goodness.
see it?
That's the object that's
That's the
actually
freaking
drawing.
object, folks. I was trying to wait for everyone to see it, but there it is. I can't make it any more
Oh
expand
my
out, but
goodness.
there it is. I don't know. And this is what it did coming in. And look what it's got coming with it.
Yeah, so it doesn't come alone. Don't forget, the solar system is full of objects at the moment. These stellar cores, they draw material behind them. So they pull in material. So if there's material to be pulled in the outer corona of the sun, that's where they usually are. They are close to the sun usually. They'll be moving around the sun somewhere there.
You know, my background, as I told my listeners today, in ROTC was that I studied military strategy. This looks like an armada to me. This is where you got your aircraft carrier right here, and you've got your flotilla with everything else. But seriously, getting back to this looks to me to be like a heavy debris field.
Yes, these are not actually the debris. The debris. Do you see all those white spots we see in this image?
Uh-huh.
Those are the debris.
Okay.
These are actual, I think, stellar cores because they are pulling matter in. That's why they're leaving this colored, this bright trail behind them. They're actually emitting light from that trail of material that they're pulling in towards themselves.
I will get you this image.
That's amazing.
So, and because we'll pull it up next time, folks, because you'll see it. It's right here. It's big, it's here, and it's bad.
You do realize that if that object is at the same distance as the sun, which is likely because these objects are usually where the sun is, that object is about at least twice as large as the sun.
That is what I was kind of concerned about. Now, I'm looking while you and I are talking to see if I have this readily available in one of my files because I love, here it is. Yeah, in fact, I do have it, Claudia. So give me 1 second. Okay. And so let me stop the share here. All right. and allow me to go here. All right, so can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now we can really have fun with this. There it is. I don't
Oh,
know what
yeah,
is,
they don't make it easy for us to actually see these objects, but obviously the trail ends there anyway. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, when you look
Wow.
at this, it's here, whatever this is. I
It
don't
says
know
something there.
what this is, Claudia, and that's why I'll let you do the
Yeah,
analysis
that
on it.
would be the trail. Basically,
Yeah,
the trail tells you where the object is. Where the trail ends, that's where the object is.
yeah.
That the trail means a trail has to be caused by something. What's causing an object to draw material that emits light? Because if we see a white line, that means its light is coming from there. What could be causing light to be emitted from that material? That there has to be something that's causing that light emission.
This one where we could pull up, because there, I'll send this to you, Claudia. That
Yeah, thanks. It's amazing. It's
so.
amazing, Wayne.
All right, we'll stop share on that one, and then we'll get back to where we were, because we were just getting into this. So let me pull this back up. Um, Let me see, where are we at? Can you see this? Are we back to the picture again?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so how about this one, Claudia? Everyone's talked about it. It's been on a number of other YouTube channels, but we now know that this meteor hit out at Dugway.
Okay, I'm not seeing.
Oh, you're not seeing that? Okay, let me get back here. So, can you see me now?
I can see you.
Okay. Can you see me now? All right, here we go. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
All right, so huge meteor struck near U.S. military base, but the Air Force has stayed silent on the event.
Mm.
This is really weird. Have you seen this story?
I have heard about it, and I have just written an article. I didn't actually
I love it.
mention this, but I was specifically looking at the possibility that this system, which I call the Planet X system, being in the solar system, will result in meteor impacts. And so I thought about it, I wrote about it, and what I realized is with all the debris that these objects are creating in the solar system, that, and since they started coming in some 170 years ago, you expect this debris to absorb energy to the point that eventually it starts being responsive to gravity. So eventually it will be able to operate like a meteor, like an asteroid.
Well,
And also these objects are moving or being ejected by the sun going out into the solar system. If they pass the asteroid belt, they are very likely to change the orbit of some of those asteroids and possibly send them out Earth's way. But with so much debris, and this debris will absorb energy, then we are likely to eventually get some of these objects becoming more like asteroids and impacting the Earth. And so we should expect asteroid impacts. Of
well,
course,
okay, I'm sorry.
the smaller the objects are, so the dust first will absorb enough energy in order to be attracted and therefore enter the Earth's atmosphere. A larger object will take longer to absorb energy. Yeah, 25th July, to absorb energy and then be attracted. It will be responsive to a gravitational field and will start being attracted towards the Earth. So that's basically what I wrote about.
Good. I'm going to have to get that one.
Yeah.
I had it pulled up.
I'll send you that one.
Okay.
I've just finished it. I made a video on it today.
Now, I want to add a caveat to this. The thing about the Thule Air Base up here, folks, this region has been inundated with levels of cosmic rays that are off the chart. Yeah.
Where are they? Greenland.
Greenland.
Yes,
There's a
you see
lot
the
going.
North Pole seems to be attracting a lot of activity.
Doesn't it, though?
And the reason why I think that is because there is just more high energy particles close to the poles, because that's where the magnetic field goes in. So if we have particles coming in from the sun, they will obviously be more concentrated where the magnetic field lines are more concentrated, which would be at the poles. So the objects would be attracted to these high energy particles, possibly.
Yes. And it's getting weird. I mean, again, it's the northern part of our polar caps that we can't find anything about the South Pole because, that's quarantine.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a great website, folks, by the way. If there is a worldwide calamity of any kind, this is the website to definitely check out. Another story. So in 2018, Claudia, so far in the United States, we've been hit with $6 billion in weather disasters.
Oh my goodness.
And this is just kind of a short, very quick look at what's happened so far. Eastern winter storm. Anyone remember the hurricane?
Wow, yes. Look at the size of that.
Yes. And then another one in March. Tornadoes. Yeah, how many of us? Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Excuse me.
Yeah. Yeah, wow. Central Eastern severe weather, May. Texas hailstorm, June. And we're only about halfway through the year. So.
Whew. Another one? Okay.
And
how about this one? This one is for 2018. Check that out.
Oh my goodness.
Volcanoes. Floods.
Wow.
Floods. More floods.
Yeah, because we're getting more severe weather.
Yes.
Because we have increasing climate change because the planet is warming up. I mean, some people are still saying we're going into an ice age, when it's obvious that we are going in the opposite direction. But that is because they want to say that because the sun is weaker, we should be going into the ice age. Yes, that should be the case if you factor out the stellar cores. The stellar cores are what causing the sun to become weaker and what causing the planets to warm up. Wow, look at that.
Look at this. A lot of people died here.
Is it? Yeah, wow. Oh my.
And this is changing the ecosystem here in the Big Island.
Yes.
800 acres added.
Yeah. Subtropical storm. Dust storms in India.
Look at that.
Oh my goodness.
In fact, Phoenix just got hit with one.
Wow. Bomb cyclone.
I was thinking about this. They used this term this winter. I don't remember growing up ever hearing the term a bomb cyclone?
That's because it's new.
Yeah, well, where was I when this came about? I mean, I was talking to my wife. I said, Lynn, where were we?
Yeah, exactly.
She said, obviously, we were on vacation. Now, as we all know, Bali was just hit over the weekend. Number of people dead on there. I think that one, Claudia, is the volcano.
Yeah.
I think that volcano is about. Here's the one in Mexico. And by the way, did you believe that story that during the World Soccer event that they were jumping so hard in Mexico City that it set off an earthquake?
Oh, that's ridiculous, Wayne. Of course.
No, that's what they say.
Oh my goodness. What will they come up with? People jumping out, up and down sets off an earthquake. That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
Here is windstorm, Frederica.
Wow, look at
The
that.
mudslides.
My goodness.
Now, the fires in California,
Yeah.
this is getting serious out there. You know, I'm sensitive to smoke. And when we've had the last week, and so is Lynn, it just, well, a lot of people are sensitive to smoke.
Yeah.
And this type of smoke it's toxic. That's the other thing that most people don't realize is that when you see the smoke in the sky, it's not good for us. It's not good at all.
Yeah.
So
I agree with you. It will most definitely be toxic. But you do realize that these fires, I don't think they are natural. I mean, we know we have geoengineering on this planet. I mean, we look up at the sky, we can see it almost every day. Do you know that geoengineering is supposed to generate rain? So if they are doing geoengineering in order to generate rain, why are they not making it rain in California?
because they want them out.
Exactly.
I mean,
because if we know they have geoengineering, we see the signs. So let's ask this question: why wouldn't they do something good for California and make it rain there and stop the drought?
yeah.
Why, if they have the ability to control the weather, do they only create weather that causes disasters?
Well, I mean, it's the best way to force evacuation of millions of people under the guise that it is by global warming.
Yeah,
and that's what they're saying about this, that these fires are caused by global warming. And I'm going, here in Colorado, the big one that we had down in the southwest part of the state, where Rex Bears moved to, was set on deliberately. You were talking about people over in Portugal. These fires were set deliberately.
Yeah, and I believe these people are actually paid to do it.
I wouldn't surprise me at all. Yeah, wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah. So what we have then here is very evil people in charge of geoengineering.
Yeah.
You can tell they are evil because they do nothing good with it.
So, Dr. Albers, I'm going to be doing a special video this week on two things. Over the weekend, I had someone send me a little tickler and said, check this out. And so I began looking into it. This is what I found out. And anyone can check this out, folks. Do your own research. In the United States, and I speak specifically of the United States, not North America, but I think North America would be included, as along with other countries, there is no longer any clean, drinkable, fresh water in the United States. You cannot drink from a river, a lake, a stream. They're all polluted. Now, what I am finding out, Claudia, the aquifers are now contaminated. And do you know the one thing that we cannot filter out, and yet it is now spread virtually through the complete aquifer and the water tables of the United States. Are you ready for this? Estrogen. Do you know where estrogen is coming from? Pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
No more fresh water, Claudia. Here in Colorado, you drink from the rivers or stream up here, you're most likely to get giardia. Yeah. And giardia is, it's not pleasant. What do you think about that? No longer.
That's absolutely terrible that this is occurring. It's all because they want to decrease the Earth's population. They want to kill us. They want to destroy our environment. They want to get rid of us. And I think that the technology is actually possible to, through an electrolysis process, actually just pull water right out of the air. But they wouldn't, of course, allow us to have technology like that, because that's a good thing. That they'll keep that for themselves.
Yes, they will. Yeah. Here's the other alarming thing. I put up my world map here. In the weeks to come, I'm going to start circling this plastic bottle. Mm-hmm. It's killing the earth.
Yeah.
It's killing us. I did not realize the amount of BHPs that are in plastic containers. This is made from oil. It's petrochemicals.
That's right.
Yeah. And then over here, we have biomasses made of this stuff in every ocean now, Claudia. In every ocean.
Yeah. The thing is, this all started when they decided they were going to make a lot of money out of oil.
Oh, man.
And when was that? The beginning of the 20th century, something like that?
Yeah, 19th century or early 20th.
And then they decided to start making all these things out of the oil and make more and more money out of the oil. So that's why we are living in a society that's all oil-based. Yeah. And that's why they want us to keep on using all these plastics.
So, as you and I talk, and as as your papers bring out, as we see more and more evidence of something happening in the heavens. I mean, at this point, you would have to be just basically the ostrich syndrome. You're going to put your head in the sand and you're not going to look at any of the facts or any of the evidence or any of the observations. Something's changing. And something's changing in our planet. And then I look at the stupidity of humanity, mankind. It's almost like we're aggravating the situation,
Yeah. I mean, I watched a TV program the other day, and it was an astronomer talking about Planet X. Oh, we haven't discovered Planet X yet. We're still looking for it in the Kuiper Belt. And I said, yeah, you're still looking for it because you haven't looked at the sun.
We're going to get you on these television shows. Eventually, it's going to happen. And Deborah, I just saw that. Yeah, Mama Sophia is waking up. Yeah. Janet says, plastics is why marijuana is illegal. Hey, listen, all I know is that I went into the store yesterday morning and I mentally went where you buy, the power drinks, water. Everything is plastic. Mm-hmm. Everything.
Yeah.
The only thing that isn't plastic is, beer. And I think eventually they'll figure out a way. They're already getting wine in plastic. So there you go. It's just
everything
crazy.
In plastic.
Yeah, everything in plastic. And I keep on thinking, we've consumed so much of this stuff. And we want to know why people are getting sick.
Yeah, I know. And what I've discovered is a lot of the things in the houses are made out of plastic. I mean, I've never seen anything like it because I come from South Africa and there everything is made out of still original material, cement and wood. But here you look at something, looks like wood, you go and touch it and you realize it's actually plastic.
Well, now, from a philosopher's point of view, you made a really big, profound statement, because how interesting that the United States is plastic. I don't know what else to say. Our cars are plastic.
Yeah.
I miss the days when we actually had steel bumpers. Your car could really take a hit and not, have $5,000 worth of shattered plastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, this has been an interesting show, Claudia. I mean, the technical difficulties, and I'm going to find out. We'll find out where that IP address came from. That was just weird.
Yeah, well, that was someone trying to stop us from showing that image, Wayne. And that's very interesting. That means there's something really interesting about that image. And I believe what it shows is an actual object.
I think it
And
does.
I actually calculated how large it would have to be if it's as close as the moon. Do you know that it would have to be 10 times larger than the moon? 3 times larger than the Earth?
I keep on. So, to give you a little background, I did a program called The Arrival of the Crossing of the Destroyer. And I read the passage from the Bronze Books about the destroyer, and it was written by the Egyptian scribes when this object passed by. And it's very interesting because they sent a prophecy, or I call it a message in the bottle, for what we needed to look for. And they said that this will really come up almost overnight. And I'm wondering if it isn't there already. I mean, we're so easily deceived.
Yeah, the thing is, don't forget that the powers that be have been running this program for many years now in order to hide what's out there. And as I said, what we have in the solar system has been there for quite a while, at least 170 years.
I agree.
So this system's been here for a long time. It doesn't mean that we cannot have other objects come in. But the thing is, what we have, the majority, is these stellar cores. And how many of these objects are there really? There may be thousands of them. I have one image from 1996. It's from the LASCO C1, which is not working anymore.
Yeah.
And if you look at it, there are small stellar cores in it, but possibly thousands of them in the sun's corona, which is huge. I'm going to write another article where I'm going to use those images again.
Please
but
do.
This is
Let's
from
do that
1996. It's just about the one of the first images I could get that shows the sun's corona, and you can see these very tiny, perhaps Earth-sized stellar cores, but there are thousands of them in the sun's corona.
Interesting.
So these objects have been here for a long time. They've been affecting the sun. I think the sun is getting to the point where it will not emit light anymore at all.
Now, it's very interesting because in the Bronze Books, the Egyptian scribes that were of the court of Pharaoh, they reported several things. Number one, they reported the sun went dark for 9 days. And they said that you couldn't tell the difference between night or day. Now, they did say, however, that it was a dirty darkness, not like the clean darkness of night when we have the moon and what have you. The other thing was that there were intervals where the sun was going dark. Now, some of it could be contribute to what they said filled the sky. They said this object filled 2/3 of the sky. Maybe you and I should talk about this sometimes, because the description they give is something very highly magnetic, electromagnetic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
all the interactions, if an object comes close to the Earth, the interaction will be electromagnetic, at least first, before the gravitational comes in.
now,
So yeah, definitely.
plasma would be another byproduct, right?
Yeah, Definitely, there will be discharges between the Earth and this object.
Thank you.
Because we have charged objects. Everything is charged in the universe. So this object has charge, the Earth has charge. When they come together, they will equalize that, well, their potentials actually. So there will be a discharging from one to the other.
Yeah.
There will be these huge bolts of lightning between the two. That's to be expected between any object that comes close to another object.
We have to do this. I'd love to we could bring it up and you could describe this, because as I analyzed this thing, they were giving the description of intense plasma discharges that were causing the Earth to heat up, and literally volcanoes were appearing out of nowhere. Now that's an intense interaction. They said that there was a hailstones that would come down, but they said it had a strange fire to it. That the fire was liquid and was running down the streets in the cities.
Well, that sounds like molten rock.
It sounds like an interesting energy and I kept on thinking to myself, well, maybe they're describing an energy that we have never witnessed before.
No, yeah, possibly. Don't forget that the physics we've been taught has basically blocked our understanding of these things. So in astronomy and physics, it's taboo to consider the fact that the objects in the universe are electrical in nature, that there is charge, that the electrical interaction plays an enormous part in everything that occurs. Any physicist that goes into that, they lose their jobs, they lose their research, they lose their positions. Because they don't want us to understand what these objects, possibly because the people in charge knew that something was going to happen, or that these objects were here already, and then they decided to change the whole of the educational system so that there would be no understanding of what was going on.
Now, I happen to I agree with you on that. Absolutely. That is absolutely.
Now, an object that fills 2/3 of the sky,
that's big.
Now, that depends on how close it is to the Earth. It possibly be quite close. So 2/3 of the sky, that's...
They said that in you'll have to, I'll send you the passage. It's very descriptive because they talk about this, and what it reminded me of was a ball of electromagnetic energy that this thing was discharging. They said its mouths would open and the flames would come forth, and it would literally start consuming people. You didn't have to be on top of it if you were near it. Now that sounds to me
like lightning discharges, plasma discharges.
Yeah.
And you would expect that from any object that comes close to the Earth, because all celestial objects will interact like that if they come close enough.
Now, the other thing was, Claudia, they said that there was a gas that invaded the land, that the gas would consume all flames. So that tells me it was absorbing oxygen. They said that it left the people with a burning sensation in their throats, which tells me that sounds like a gas, like carbon monoxide.
Did it stop fires from...
It did. Yep.
That may be helium.
I had not thought about that. Wow. Okay.
Noble gases stop when the concentration goes up. Stop the burning of fires because they need oxygen and they displace oxygen.
How interesting.
Yeah. So it could be there was an interaction where the Earth may have pulled in the object's atmosphere. It may have had a helium atmosphere.
I'll have to let you read their description of the crossing of the slaves on the Red Sea. They said that the water was as though it was inside a bowl and someone was spinning it, and that the land was not straight. The land was heaving up and down, and it was very circuitous as to how they were getting there. And the captains of the Pharaoh's army said that when the slaves got to the edge, they would literally fall and they would hit this water, and it apparently killed them. I mean, the forces were so intense. Isn't that interesting? And they also mention giant whirlpools opening up.
It's very interesting, because what you would expect between two objects coming so close together, you'd expect the electrical interaction first, so lots of plasma discharges. And once the electric potential equalizes, then you get a gravitational interaction. So they pulling on each other. So the Earth is pulling on the matter from this object, because basically with the electrical interaction, they connect. They now one object. They will be enveloped in the outer layer of electrons that both objects can supply. They now one. Now comes the gravitational pull on each other. Which one wins? The larger one will win. So a very large object would pull most of Earth's atmosphere and water, oceans out of it. That's, I think, what's happened to Mars. So the fact that this object did not do that, obviously we still have oceans and atmosphere, it means that it possibly was smaller than the Earth.
Yeah, well, they said that it sounded that when it started to come, when it approached, they said it was sounding like 10,000 trumpets and lions roaring at the same time.
Well, that would be the electrical interaction that first occurs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah, we'll have to read that and get a physicist commentary on it, because I think, to me, it was the most accurate description of this crossing. And, you know, the Egyptian scribes were very intelligent. They were very well educated. They understood things. It was the only account, by the way, that I ever found about Pharaoh, when he wrote that his fear as he was going into this was that it was beyond his ability to comprehend what was going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that nowadays most people cannot understand either what's going on with the Earth.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Because we haven't been taught anything that would allow us to understand what's really going on. Our ability to understand gravity is minimal at best, because obviously these objects interact in a way that shows us that we don't understand much about gravity.
I have a friend who's a DJ, and I told her, I said, I still can't figure out how the moon sits up there. I mean, come on. They tell me that it's in the perfect way, that it matches and equalizes both the sun and the Earth's gravitational pull. And I'm going, how does that work? I mean,
well, not quite like that. It is at the orbital radius or altitude or distance from the surface of the Earth, where it appears to be about the same size as the sun in the sky. That's why we have eclipses.
By the way, we're getting a hailstorm right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But the sun's gravitational attraction on the Earth, is... are you still there?
Actually, we're having a severe hailstorm, so I'm going to go ahead and log off and help my wife out there. It's really coming down.
Okay.
So we'll see everyone a little bit later.